Hello, Ball State University Band. Daryl Johnson II here. I got a message from Dr. Hand last week about your upcoming performance or then upcoming performance, and I'm so sorry I unfortunately missed it, the email before your concert. I listened to the recordings of that last rehearsal that you had, and I was very, very pleased. So to explain a little bit, I'm on a tour right now. I do a lot of touring, visiting high school and middle school and college bands during the school year. And so this particular tour started in Northern California in a place called Redding. And I went from Northern California to Madison, Wisconsin, to Fargo, North Dakota, to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to Boston, Massachusetts, to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to Chicago, Illinois, to Kalamazoo, Michigan, to Lansing, Michigan, over to Silicon Valley, San Jose area of California, then Seattle, Washington, Spokane, Washington. Currently, I am in Anchorage, Alaska area right now. So I don't have a great view for you, but these are the mountains, and there's a lot, going on. It's definitely nicer here. Usually when I'm in Alaska, it's been in the winter, so it's like -10, -15 and snow everywhere. But this is my first time being here during the spring, and the sun sets at like 10:30 and 10:45 or something like that. And it's even gonna get later and later as it gets into June. From here, I go to Dubuque, Iowa, then Charlotte, North Carolina, then Minneapolis, Minnesota, then back to Wisconsin, and then I end in California again in June. So it's going to be a long run. But anyway, that's a little bit why I couldn't get back to you sooner. It's just a lot of traveling. So your performance, I would say Waltz and Chaconne's probably 10, 12 years old by now. And I would definitely put that in the top 5 of ones I've heard so far. I know there are a couple of things that you were still working on. I just heard instruments coming out here and there. But overall, I loved the way that you played that piece. The first movement, attention to articulation and detail was great. The grace notes and the woodwinds, perfect. All of the alto saxophone solos right there. Percussion, very intuitive, hit right where I like it to be. I was very, very pleased with the way you did that first movement. During the second movement, euphonium, a lot of cool stuff happening, both in the first movement, but also the solo in the second movement, vibes. Also, what I really liked that you were able to capture was the mystery in that middle section of that second movement, where the 16th notes are more of just a texture, more of just a vibe than specific notes. That was sounding really good. And the fact that was in G flat, didn't even notice. Funny story. When I was publishing that piece, before I did it, I had a lot of anxiety about the key of G flat and is that a good idea? And so I actually took it to a college before I published, and I gave them a version of that second movement in G flat and a version in G. And I said, you guys will decide what happens here. They played it in G flat and they stumbled through it. It was kind of messy, it was awkward, and they barely got it through. Then they played it again in G, and it was actually very smooth. Not many issues there. And so I was sure they were all going to say, we want to do G. But when I voted, 2 people said G, and that was the bassoon player and someone else. And if you're a bassoon player, you ask your bassoon player why they wanted G. Everyone else picked G flat. And when I asked why, like you had so much more trouble with it, they mentioned that it just had that richer, fuller feel. Like the G, it was a very bright, shiny G. And for the mood of this Chaconne, the richer, darker G flat seemed to work a lot better. So anyway, it didn't sound at all like you guys were playing in G flat. You mastered that very well. The tempo work that you did there, I thought the tempos were very nice, and I was very pleased with the maestoso and the big climax in the middle. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I heard that I wanted to point out, but the suspensions, those of you who had them, you brought them out in a perfect sort of way. Overall, there's not much to say because I know you already performed it. I would really love to hear your performance of the piece, the final performance, because I am so in love with how you did it. One of the difficulties with older pieces is that, you've heard them so many times, and when I heard that performance, though, it breathed new life into it for me and made me excited to listen to it again. So thank you for all of your hard work. I'm sorry I didn't get to you before the concert, but I'm still so thrilled that you got to work on the piece and that it turned out so well. You guys have a wonderful summer and wonderful time back for those of you who are returning, and happy graduation to you seniors who are all done.